Mother watched her paralyzed baby sleep, but the puppy did something no one expected. The hospital room was silent except for the soft beeping of monitors and the gentle hum of the ventilator. Outside, the rain tapped against the window as thunder rumbled in the distance. Inside the crib, 6-month-old Oliver lay perfectly still, his tiny chest rising and falling in a rhythm that had become both a comfort and a heartbreak to his mother, Sophia. Doctors had already told her the crushing truth. Oliver was paralyzed from the neck down, and the chances of him ever moving were almost non-existent. Sophia sat beside him, wiping away silent tears, when suddenly Max, their golden retriever puppy, who had been lying quietly in the corner, stood up, his ears perked, nose twitching as if sensing something unseen. Slowly, Max padded over to the crib and gently placed one paw on Oliver's chest, his golden eyes locked onto the baby's face. Then something strange happened. For the first time ever, Oliver's tiny fingers twitched, just once, like the faintest flicker of life that wasn't supposed to exist. Sophia gasped, her heart pounding. Was this real? Or was it just a cruel trick of her exhausted mind? What was Max sensing that the doctors couldn't see? Sophia and Mark Carter had always dreamed of having a family, but nothing had prepared them for the devastating diagnosis their son received just days after birth. Oliver was born with a rare neurological disorder that left him completely paralyzed, from the neck down. Every specialist visit ended with the same cold conclusion: there's little we can do. As medical bills piled up, Mark took double shifts, leaving Sophia alone in the hospital for countless nights, desperately searching for any flicker of hope. It was during one of Mark's rare days off that Max came into their lives. The golden retriever puppy was an impulsive gift from Mark, a desperate attempt to bring even a small spark of joy into the house drowning in sorrow. Sophia was hesitant at first. How could she care for a newborn and a puppy while carrying the unbearable weight of her son's condition? But Max seemed to sense the fragile balance of the home. Instead of demanding attention, he quietly bonded with Oliver, curling up beside his crib night after night. What no one knew was that Max hadn't always known comfort either. Found abandoned on the side of a rural highway, Max had been rescued from starvation and abuse himself. His early life was marked by betrayal, left behind by owners who simply didn't want him anymore. Perhaps it was that shared sense of helplessness that connected him so deeply to Oliver. Two innocent souls, both victims of circumstances they never chose, now clinging to each other for strength. But behind the hospital's closed doors, a secret lingered, one that neither Sophia nor Max was aware of. And soon, that hidden truth would come dangerously close to shattering the fragile miracle unfolding before them. Weeks turned into months, and while Oliver's condition remained unchanged, something strange began to happen. Every time Max lay beside Oliver, his tiny fingers would twitch. At first, Sophia dismissed it as wishful thinking, but the twitches grew more frequent, more deliberate. The doctors called it coincidence. Sophia called it a sign. One night, during a routine hospital inspection, a nurse reviewing Oliver's charts paused, frowning. There were discrepancies in his records. Previous test results had been altered. Nerve responses that once showed no activity now indicated faint but undeniable signals. How could this be? The medical staff began quietly investigating. As the days passed, more unsettling details surfaced. The lead neurologist, Dr. Harrington, the same doctor who had initially insisted Oliver's condition was irreversible, was under scrutiny for falsifying reports in multiple patient cases. Rumors whispered through the hospital halls suggested that he had ties to a private pharmaceutical firm, one eager to push experimental treatments while suppressing natural recoveries that didn't align with their narrative. Max, the gentle puppy who was never meant to play any role beyond comforting, was somehow succeeding where expensive treatments had failed. And someone didn't want that story getting out. Sophia's gut twisted with both fear and fury. Had her son's suffering been prolonged for profit? And what danger might they now face for simply discovering the truth? The fragile hope that Max had ignited was now tangled with dark secrets threatening to destroy everything. Late one evening, As rain hammered against the hospital windows, Sophia was summoned to the hospital administrator's office. Her heart pounded as she entered, finding a grim-faced internal investigator waiting. A folder lay open on the desk, filled with damning evidence. Dr. Harrington had deliberately falsified Oliver's medical records, but the betrayal ran deeper than Sophia ever imagined. Mark, her own husband, had unknowingly played a role. Months earlier, crushed by mounting medical bills and desperate for a solution, Mark had been approached by representatives from the pharmaceutical company funding Dr. Harrington's research. They promised to cover Oliver's medical expenses entirely if Mark quietly consented to an exclusive experimental program. All Mark had to do was trust them and avoid second opinions. Blinded by desperation and hope, he agreed, never realizing the full extent of their manipulation. The experimental drugs administered to Oliver had little intention of curing him. Instead, they prolonged his paralysis to generate controlled data for the company's trials. Any natural improvements like those inspired by Max's gentle presence directly threatened their research and profits. Dr. Harrington had done everything in his power to suppress those improvements, erasing signs of Oliver's tiny progress from every report. As the truth sank in, Sophia's knees buckled, her breath hitching with rage and heartbreak. Mark's face was pale, his eyes brimming with guilt. "I thought I was saving him," he whispered, voice cracking. But the damage had been done. Sophia clutched Max tightly, tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't science," she whispered. "It was love. It was always Max." The betrayal had nearly stolen Oliver's chance at life, but it would not define his future. The following week, the hospital board convened a formal hearing. The evidence against Dr. Harrington was irrefutable. Falsified reports, unethical, drug trials, and deliberate obstruction of Oliver's natural recovery. Under mounting pressure, he finally confessed, his career and reputation crumbling before the very institution he once controlled. Mark, devastated by his role in the ordeal, bravely came forward and publicly admitted his part in the deal. While his actions were born from desperation, his honesty spared him criminal charges. Instead, he dedicated himself fully to Oliver's ongoing care, determined to rebuild his family's trust. As for Sophia, her focus never wavered. With the experimental drugs halted and proper therapy reinstated, Oliver's improvement accelerated. Each session with Max by his side seemed to unlock new strength in the child's tiny muscles. The once paralyzed baby now reached out with growing confidence, his giggles filling the once silent hospital room. The story of Max and Oliver spread far beyond the hospital's walls. News outlets covered their miraculous bond, calling Max the puppy who sparked a miracle. Donations poured in to help cover medical costs, and new regulations were introduced to protect vulnerable patients from unethical medical practices. One sunny afternoon, under the wide blue sky, Oliver took his first unassisted steps across the backyard. Max trotted beside him, tail wagging, as Sophia and Mark watched with tear-filled eyes. The nightmare was finally over, replaced by a future built on love, truth, and the unbreakable bond between a little boy and his faithful dog. And, though science had failed Oliver at first, the healing power of companionship had triumphed, proving that sometimes miracles wear fur. In the end, Oliver's story wasn't just about a medical anomaly or a hidden betrayal. It was a powerful reminder of what true healing really means. While science faltered and those entrusted with care chose greed, it was the unconditional love of a simple puppy that ignited hope where none remained. Max never asked for anything. He simply stayed, offering comfort, companionship, and silent encouragement, with every gentle nudge and wag of his tail. Sophia often looked at her son, now laughing freely as he played with Max, and realized how close they had come to losing everything. But through that darkness, love found a way to shine. The loyalty of a dog, the fierce devotion of a mother, and even the regretful redemption of a father, all converged to bring about a miracle no medicine could replicate. Because in the end, it's not always science that saves us. Sometimes it's the quiet power of loyalty, love, and never giving up on those we hold dear.